Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name's Andrew Heasman. I'm the International Creative Director for Rush. This morning we're going to be demonstrating a graduation technique. This is trackie, my model trackie this morning. Now I've isolated a diamond section off the top, so let's just go through my thought process here. So obviously whenever we're isolating these areas, you're literally expanding at the lowest points of the shape and closing down and opening up on the highest form of the shape. I'm actually going to cut trackie's hair. I'm going to change it a bit today. It's kind of been wearing this loose kind of mid-length shape. I'm literally going to do a little bit more of a pixie cut on it. So I'm going to start to crop the front away, taking this in a bit more of a layered form. I'm then going to graduate from the front into the back, and I'm going to use just a very simple round graduation technique with just elements of very soft disconnection through the sides. Now this is purely just to give myself a little bit of texture and just to soften the shape a little bit for trackie. So I'm going to start on the right hand side first of all. No, actually it's the left hand side, sorry, my left's and right's always a little bit messed up. So I'm going to start my first section here on the left. I'm going to elevate the hair out 90 degrees from the head shape and start to remove some of this front area. I'm almost cutting the hair down so it creates almost a slightly straighter texture through that underneath. It kind of reminiscent of an old haircut I used to learn called the high crown, and we're going to kind of work with disconnection underneath this crown area and allow that texture, that beautiful texture that Trackie's got in her hair through the crown, just to kind of explode and give ourselves a little bit of height and texture through that area. So literally just taking vertical sections. I'm just going to take very clean sections to make sure that I'm isolating the hair away, then taking part of my next section and working cleanly throughout the shape. Got this beautiful pink colour that Jeremy and Adam has helped me out with this morning. Chris is in India at the moment enjoying his holidays, so he's not with us. We're joined here today by the very lovely Alex Hardy, who's going to be answering any questions you guys have got. You know how Facebook Live works. Obviously you ask a question, it's read out, and hopefully I can answer it for you as quick as possible. And it's a very interactive experience.
So we've got a few people joining in now. We've got Shelley.
Hello,
we've got
Shelley.
Ben Russell joining us as well.
Oh God, from Australia.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I'm not sitting down actually, to be honest, because if I was sitting down I'd be in trouble. It tells people off. Oh, yeah. It tells people off when he sits down. It tells people off when you sit down, so got to be very careful. This was actually, Trackie was one of Ben's models years ago, isn't it? This looks amazing actually, this fringe already, that's brilliant. You can start to see that texture actually running into the front of that shape now. It's going to give me a really, really nice cross diversity with the texture, I think, because I've got all these short areas underneath, and I'm going to have, you know, longer lengths popping from the underneath and from the top, which I think is going to create something really quite special. Now, just as I've worked that through, I'm now just going to, we believe here, basic shape first. Very, very important you apply that. Then as you're working through, just going to cross-check my basic shape and work through. Just using a little bit of pointing.
Ben says, good to see that you're stood.
Yes, I am standing, mate. You've changed my perspective. Perfect.
He says, what is your view on sitting?
Well, I think, you know, for me, honestly, I find it very comfortable for me to be sitting down when I do one length shapes. You know, and I need to get onto eye level. For me, it really is important that I can see the line. I don't really want to be uncomfortable. For me, I want to be in an upright position. I want to kind of be on eye level with it. So I do tend to use stools. for that. When it comes to graduation and when it comes to layering, I stand up, obviously, and this is purely because your feet position controls where your weight is going to be distributed. You know, your feet is such a large part of hairdressing, believe it or not. Obviously, you need to be able to move when you're doing a round shape, and you need to be able to make sure that you're very static when you're over directing. So your feet kind of do tell a large story on weight proportions. So yeah, standing is a really important part of cone hair. Obviously, we don't sit down when we blow dry. We don't sit down when we layer or anything like that. It would be harder. It would actually be harder to do. But on a one length, I find it slightly easier to do my one length. So I hope that answers your question.
I think it's absolutely right, Andy. It's the right tool for the right job, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
for depending on what you're doing, depends on what tool you're going to use and whether you're going to sit or whether you're going to stand.
Yeah, 100%. You know the rules. It really is about adjusting your body proportion and adjusting your body height to the area that you're working to. And you can't be layering hair or really graduating hair sitting down, because it really, your legs, your feet are telling you exactly what you're doing with the shape. So now you can see that fringe now is curving right the way through. I'm going to be using point cutting and texturising techniques on Tracky's hair. You can see, hopefully you can all see out there, she's got quite a lot of hair, to be honest. It's quite thick. Beautiful hair to cut. You know, it's one of those kind of, that fringe looks brilliant on already. What do you think? Suits her, doesn't
Really
it?
nice.
Got a nice bit of texture to it, isn't it? And I think when that comes up and sits over, I think that's going to be quite interesting. So, wetting the hair down just a little bit. So I'm going to start graduating into the back from the front. I'm just going to use a really simple technique, a basic graduation technique. So I'll just turn Tracky there for you. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Perfect.
So Ben says, let's read this out. Your feet are large, Andy. What a great hairdresser. You're a massive inspiration for me and many others.
My feet are large. That's brilliant.
True legend.
Thank you so much, Ben.
And thanks for the compliment also, Ben.
Yes. So now we're going to start from the front now, and we're going to graduate my first section. I'm not going to go too short with Tracky's hair. I don't want to bone it off. I'm going to work with a real delicacy in the way we're going to crop this. So I don't want to make it so it looks like it's been boned off and really aggressive. I think the whole shape here is really having that kind of delicate graduation to the shape. Allowing areas of just to drop away, and just because we're already really committing to cropping that area there. I don't think we need to go and really skin our hair down. I'm just going to work really, really soft. So I'm going to go diagonal back. Each section I'm just going to drift onto the previous. I'm going to work my body position where I'm going to work round the head shape. And I'm going to connect it in with the fringe area. You can see the way I'm working. I'm bringing that fringe area that I've already cut into the way I'm working. First of all, I think it's really important actually, I prep the hair with List Control today. List Control is a product by L'Oreal, and it's a control cream. Something I like to use a lot of when I'm cutting hair. Doesn't have any kind of alcohol content to it, doesn't dry out. It holds its moisture right the way through the haircut. And when you wet down, the product then reactivates. So it's just a really nice cutting agent, just to create soft and clean sections.
Ben's asked, would you call that round grad or a layer, Andy?
Round graduation. I think you can safely see that the top area of the shape is longer than the underneath. I've layered the front already, but now as I'm working it down the hair shaft, down through to the bottom of the hairline, my knuckles are in, my fingers are pointing out, and I'm cutting inside my fingers. I think that's the key. I think whenever we're talking graduation to layering, You layer the hair over your fingers, and when you graduate the hair, you're cutting inside your fingers. You can see it's a completely different technique. And really, graduation is A to B theory, A being the bottom point, what I always call the nape area, being the shortest point, B being whatever line you want to go to, being your longest point through this area. So it's A to B. This line here is shorter than this line here. Therefore, there's a build-up of weight. Therefore, it's graduation. It's a flat graduation, granted. We call it a flat graduation because we're working more on a vertical plane rather than a horizontal plane. So I'm not building up so much weight. It's a very soft shape, but the bottom of the shape is definitely considerably shorter than the top.
Kenna, I hope I pronounced that right. Good to see you, Andy. I was loving your haircuts.
Oh, thank you, mate. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So as I'm working through these side areas here now, elevating, so I don't build up too much weight. And then working that round into the back nape area. For those of you who are kind of tuning in now, keep you guys up to speed. We have cut the front of Tracky's hair off so far. So I'm really happy actually. It suits her. You never know, do you really? Because when you have a kind of scientific plan, and you have a science, the way we were educated, you know, by their face shapes and how you predict it's going to look. But you never know how good it's going to look until you kind of actually do it. She looks fantastic with it. I'm really happy. I think when we dress this out at the end, I think it's going to be absolutely unbelievable. And so that's gone really well. We've gone in straight away, gone in quite strong. And it's worked, thank God. So that's the kind of scary bit over. And you can see the way that's working now. The graduation's following through. Now I'm just going to keep following that line. Sorry, Alex, I'll be in your way.
That's right.
At the moment, we're just applying our basic shape into the haircut. I've cross-checked the haircut a few times already, cross-checked across the front. I'll do the side in a minute. It's very important as you're working through, you're cross-checking your haircut just to make sure that all the balance is in, the house is nice and strong. I call it the house, you know, because it's about the foundation of the structure. And then right at the end, when we dry the hair off, we're going to refine it. We're going to clean it and make sure it's absolutely polished off to perfection at the end. Paint. This is quite a key point to the haircut now, because as I'm coming what I call to the break of the head, this is the area that where the head starts to curve, it's going to go into the back area, because you can see now the side really is sort of being covered quite clearly. I'm going to just check this with my comb, just make sure the line's clean. Perfect. See how that's checking quite nicely. I'm not going to leave those sides as long as they are. I'm going to be taking them down quite considerably at the end with a very, very visual technique I'm going to use, just a bit of freehand, just to allow everything to fall in to the balance. Keeping this shape though very rounded. Perfect. This is really something that we'd use on some of our quite contemporary cutting courses. This would be considered into possibly some of our inspirational and contemporary cutting. So this is kind of, we're using disconnection in the hair, and this is a very trademark strength and movement look from Rush. And actually Tracky was part of our collection this year, which we launched Tomboy at Southern International, where we're talking about the crossovers between the genders, if you like, where we're kind of working, you know, boyish and very feminine haircuts and kind of blurring the lines. It's not about androgyny at all. It's not about sticking very strong male haircuts on women. It's about blurring the lines. And our inspiration this season came from Tom Ford and Gucci, the Gucci campaigns and the Tom Ford campaigns this year, where you could definitely see a very clear genderless approach to fashion and their advertising. And I think it's a very big story for this year, and also the future. I think it's, you know, it's something that really is quite apparent and something that's really kind of coming into fashion, and I think it's here to stay.
So Andrew Slater saying, "Hi Andy, just to let you know my graduate bobs are coming on a treat.
Thank you.
For your tuition the other week."
Amazing.
He's told many people about the academy.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. It was an absolute pleasure having you here, mate. You're an absolute model guest, and we had a great time together. Thanks a lot, mate. Really appreciate that. Now you can really see that shape now curving into the back area. Very pleased. So as I'm working through, the sections are being over-directed across, and I'm elevating to ensure that I don't build up too much weight. I want this weight, my target area is the O-bone. So you can see the way I'm working here. My weight now is curving towards the occipital bone, towards the back area. Making sure that my knuckles are in and my fingers are out through this right hand side. You have to watch your disciplines, the way you're working when you're working these techniques, and you're not lifting the bottom out too much and leaving weight in the bottom area. The whole idea of this is purely so it still nicks in nice and tight through that nape area. Beautiful.
So we've got people joining us from Mumbai.
Oh, fantastic. Hello, India. One of our key guys is over there at the moment enjoying his holidays, Mr. Chris Williams. He's over in Goa enjoying some sunshine. I think the guys actually are over next month. I believe we're sending one of our creative directors, Mr. Ashley Haynes, with Chris Williams. They're going to go over and come and see you guys next month. So I think that'd be amazing. I think we're going over a couple of times. I believe Tina's going over as well. It's going to be great.
Somebody joining in from South Wales as well. All over the country. Cool. So guys, any of you that have any questions, please stick them in the comments section, and I'll read them out to Andy so you can answer your questions. So we're here at the Rush Academy in Covent Garden, Andy. We've got lots of different courses on.
Yes.
You touched on it a little bit earlier about that this would be something that would be more of the inspirational sort of courses, but
yeah,
what sort of courses do we cater for? What sort of things do we have going on?
Well,
here?
we do everything, Alex. We do everything from beginners, where we do like where we do start-up courses. We've actually got a young lady with us at the moment who's actually come just to learn some hair that she's going to be doing. She's doing a 6-week course just to get a bit of an insight. She's come along absolutely incredible. So she's been with us for the last 6 weeks. So we do cater everything from that. We do day courses, we do week courses, 3-day, 5-day courses. Everything from cutting hair the Rush way on a 3-day introduction, which covers everything from our classic through to our contemporary. And we do cutting hair the Rush way pure, in other words, pure Rush, which is a 5-day classic cutting course. So if you want to brush up on basically your graduated bobs, your round graduations, and all your classics, if you like, we do that for you as well. And then we do inspiration days and inspiration courses. So basically the best thing to do is contact us, and we can send you either one of our brochures, or you can contact our manager, Mr. Adam Bryan, and he can have a bit of a chat with you. Because I think, to be honest with you, education is really about what the student wants to get out of it. For one, that's the most important thing, what the student actually wants to get out of any course. Because it might be a 1-day course, or it might be a 5-week course. It's what your goals are. And I think it's very important that you communicate your goals before you start any course of hairdressing. Because communication, I think, on this level is key. You know, it's really about bespoke in your course, making sure that we're getting the most out of it for you. So please, if there's any queries, please contact us on rush.co.uk or Rush Academy, I believe it is, and then speak to our manager, and he'll give you a lowdown of everything that we offer. That shape's starting to work quite well now. You can start to see that curvature running through quite nicely. Quite pleased. So, I'm going to go right the way from this point to behind the ear, Alex. Guys, sorry, not just Alex. I'm going to work from right the way to the left-hand side, just so I get a really clear guideline to work from when I go from left to right. Just make sure everything's working nicely. Perfect. Just checking. Making sure I leave a nice amount of weight on the occipital bone, so I allow that really beautiful femininity through the back, making sure that it's not flat and boyish at all. You know, I think taking that front off has been such a large statement today. It's nice. I need to keep elements of softness and beauty in there to make sure that it really works for tracking. For me, beauty is key on everything that we do. You know, whenever we're looking at hair, you know, our colour, our cuts, our hair up, it really is about suitability. Suitability is key to ensure that the client's happy, or the model's happy, whatever we're dealing with, and you're getting the most out of the face. Because if the model looks good, you know, the haircut looks good, everything looks good, you look great. I'm going to turn around for you in a sec, Al. So I'm just cross-checking my work now. Coming across the other direction. Just going to check it. Make sure it's perfectly clean before I move on to the opposite side. Amazing. Okay, other side now. Just going to get a bit of water, just dampen the shape down a little bit, just for control of my sections. Again, I'm going to work very visually. Remember, I've got a guideline from the top, from where my layering is, because I've got perfect balance through that front area, which I've checked. I'm going to drop this area away, exactly what I did on the other side. And I'm going to use that top area as my guide to work from my graduation. And then I'm going to meet and cut across the opposite side and meet my guide through from the right-hand side. working very visually here. This is not a technical way of working. I'm just literally just removing. I'm just going to look at the balance before I move on.
So we've got a good question from Susan Saunders. Andy, your cutting skills are incredible. How do we, as clients, know how to find someone with your perfection?
Oof, I think, oh God, let me blush, Susan. I think, to be honest with you, I think go to a reputable salon, research it a little bit, and I think, to be honest with you, my advice would be going to it and have a consultation with a hairdresser, because I think, yeah, the skills, are there, but I think as well, when you're dealing with clients and when you're dealing with people, I'm going to cut a client's hair, I need to have a little bit of rapport with that client. I need to kind of have a bit of a build-up of a relationship with them, if you like. I need to find out a bit about you. I need to find out about what you want to get out of your hair, how you want to, do your hair at home, and so on and so forth. The question that, you're actually asking is, how do you know their skill set before you cut? You don't. But I think when you start talking to a hairdresser, you'll kind of, hopefully you can kind of get a little bit of an idea and know what they're talking about. You have to feel comfortable with your hairdresser before you let him cut your hair or her cut your hair. And I think my only advice would be, have a nice consultation, sit down, have a coffee with them, have a chat. Every salon offers this service. You can go into, book a consultation, it's free of charge, and you can, it's all about your comfort zone. And I think that's the key. I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah, so just to recap for you, Susan, go into any of our Rush salons and you can go and see a stylist and
100%.
have a consultation with them and sit and have a cup of tea, cup of coffee. We're more than happy to sit down and have a chat with you about your needs and what it is that you desire out of your hair.
Really, really good, Alex. 100%. I think that's the key, guys. As a client, you need to feel comfortable. Rush offer that service to all their clients before we would even cut your hair. We give you an in-depth lifestyle consultation. Find out exactly what you want to get out from your hair. I think it's really important.
And it's something that I always reiterate to students when I'm teaching is the consultation is probably one of the most important aspects of the entire service.
Yeah.
And I think everything starts from there and everything will be delivered from there.
Exactly. 100%, Alex. I think it really is. I think it's one of the most important parts of any hairdressing service, don't you think?
Absolutely.
I think it's where all the complaints come from. Complaints come from bad communication.
Absolutely.
And I think, the hairdresser has to work very, very hard to ensure that we're getting the most out of the service and we're getting the most out of the client. We're here to help at the end of the day. That's the key. So now I'm working across the left-hand side and I'm meeting to the right-hand side. And this is the point where I'm now working. I'm obviously connecting from the left to the right, but also I'm going to be cross-checking my work as I'm working through. So it's kind of doing two jobs. It's really meeting beautifully now. That product I put in the hair before I cut is really helping. I don't think anybody, if you're cutting short hair, guys, as hairdressers, make sure you always use a product. Make it easy for yourselves, guys. Make your life a lot easier. There's one thing I can educate here. Without the product, my sections just would never be this easy to achieve. The hair wouldn't hold away so easily. Just makes my life easy. Use a non-alcoholic product, so it's alcohol-based product, purely, so it doesn't dry. So as you're working, the moisture content's still in the hair. We're recommending list control here at the Academy, purely because it's our go-to cutting agent.
So Robbie Sean Purcell said, I missed the beginning. Can you explain the dime section in the centre why it was placed. Don't worry, Robbie, we'll definitely recap, and also we will post this video to the Academy page afterwards, so you can watch it all the way from the beginning, pause it, rewind it, watch it as many times as you like.
I think it's a really good question though, because I think why use a diamond? Why not use a round section or a square section or so on and so forth? It's all about the points that I've placed in the hair. The points of the diamond areas, where the points are here, here, here and here, are the areas where we'll get most expansion. Okay, so this obviously here, I'm going to get that slight bit dropping into the O-bone. Through this area here, these areas here, through the front, I'll have a slightly wider silhouette through these areas. And I dropped a little point into the middle here, so I've got this kind of area where I might be able to kind of flip this long bit around a little bit. Do you understand? So those lower areas is where there's going to be most distribution of weight. The higher areas, i.e. here, you're opening and you're exposing the areas of the haircut underneath. I hope that answers your question, Rob.
Thanks for that question, Robbie. And start that again. Any others of you out there that want to ask Andy any questions, by all means, type them into the comments section and I'll read them out for him.
Brilliant. So it's really working nicely now. It's coming through to the other side. And that's meeting. Do I need to turn that?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Sorry, I've just got a big pillar in my way that way.
No, that's all right, mate. Lovely. Mate, remember to elevate these sections now, so I'm not building up too much weight. And that the graduation, I mean, for one, mate, graduation is, I think to master graduation is, you just have to have the theory behind it. Now the whole idea of graduation is, we know, is a point A, your starter point, and then point B being your finishing point. And it's all about the continuation of that line, making sure it's absolutely pure. Now, if the line deviates in any way, it either changes direction this way, it means you'll flatten the shape too much. If it deviates this way, it means you're going to build up and you pulled the hair down too much to one line. So it is very important that you have a feeling when you're graduating, that each section is being lifted really smallly, really slightly each time, so that the line continues. And that's the key to it. So then you get that beautiful soft build-up of weight.
So we've got a link that's been posted in the comment section that will stay there throughout the whole Facebook Live. It gives you a link to our Rush Academy website. Excellent. Where you can go and have a little look and see any of the courses that we do, and also get in contact with us.
And not only that, we're very approachable people. I mean, for me, if I was looking at an academy and looking at is investing into a course, I'd want to come down and meet the guys. I'd want to come down and have a chat. So that is literally on offer, guys. You can come in, pop down, have a chat, talk about what you want to get out of education. We'll sit down, we'll give you 5-10 minutes of our time just chatting to you about it. And we can kind of work on a plan for you, or talk about courses that were available for you. Just come down and have a look. Come down and have a chat. Check out the space. Very important.
It is a very cool space here. I'll just pan around a little bit and just sort of zoom out so people can see. It's a really creative space, isn't it, Andy? And it really helps with what we do here. So we've got all the different classrooms over there.
Hub, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of got that bit of a vibe, but it's got that kind of a little bit more of a creative hub to it. It's not just an academy, it's got something a little bit more than that. And I don't think you really see that from the videos a lot of the time. I think you really need to come down and have a look. Please, like I say, we're open arms here, guys. So just back to the haircut. I'm going to stand back now and just have a look at my balance, how the shape's starting to develop. This is something I encourage in cutting hair. I think it's very important that people stand back from the haircuts, have a look at the overall shape. Don't be too pigeonholed with it, it's really important. Stand back, look at it visually, especially when you're looking at balances. Can technically work a shape, but I think haircuts are very important. That there are elements of visuality within a haircut and technicality. You need to have both the elements working together. And I could just cross-check across horizontally first. Just have a little look. You can see there's just a little bit of weight through here. So I'm just going to go back in. It's not very much, but that's, to be honest with you, if you know it's there, you've got to kind of go, take those finer sections, just go back in. There it is.
So we've got another question from Robbie, saying, I know the art team goes broad, but do they do courses for non-Rush staff around Britain in Rush salons or only in the London Academy?
In the London Academy at the moment, but to be honest with you, I think what Robbie, I really would love you just to contact us here at the Academy. You know, the number will be put into, you know, the contact details we put there. Have a chat. So if you want us to come to you, I'm sure something can be sorted out. You know, there's nothing that can't be sorted out. So if you wanted us to come to your salon and do an in-salon education program, you know, a day for you, I'm sure it can be, you know, we can talk, you know. So please contact us and then we'll have a chat, all right? Cool.
So yeah, like Andy said, the contact details are there on the Rush Academy page. You can have a little look on there. It's got the email address, how to contact us.
Yeah.
Or if you're in London, pop in and say hello.
100%. So I'm just going to cross-check the other way now. As I did on the other side. Just pulling around. You want to see this, Alex, kind of, you should right to my hands here. You can see kind of how I'm working. I'm kind of working the opposite way now. I hope that my arm's not in the way. I'm just having a look, see if anything's there. Now the weight, I'm very happy with. You can see where I've placed that weight. I think it looks quite cool because I've got that kind of, it's wrapping around the O-bone. It's not too flat. I've still got a really pretty curvature to it, which I think is really important. So when Tracky's head's up right, you can see that kind of really beautiful soft balance.
So Beryl Ripley said, oh, I so wish my haircut looked like that. Well, Beryl, if you're ever in London or around the area, pop in. We're always looking for models. Come and see us.
Yeah, 100%. Across now, just elevating. I can just see like a millimetre of weight there. You have to be, I think, to be, you know, to be a good cutter. I do believe you need to be a little bit OCD. You need to have this kind of very conscious thing that you're only as good as your last haircut, if that makes sense. I think a lot of hairdressers know that saying, but I really do believe in it. You know, I think you know, as a hair cutter, you shouldn't be happy leaving little bits and, you know, like areas that aren't completely clean. I think, to be honest with you, you have to have this kind of element where you are always looking for mistakes as you're working, and you're trying to pure it up and clean it up all the time to make sure you get the best result. The cleaner this line is, this primary line, the longer, not only that the haircut lasts, is just the longevity of the shape, and it's going to grow out so much better. You know, the house and the structure is so strong. So before I dry the hair off, I'm going to just literally now drop the top, drop the crown. Now this area here has been disconnected from the underneath. We've replaced the diamond shape section into it, as you can see. Now this is obviously to allow certain parts of the hair cut on the top to fall lower than other parts. Oh, I like that already. Now that's not been cut yet. Now what I'm going to do with this shape on the top is I'm going to work really visually with it, because I think I like the idea of this. One of the Rush trademark philosophies is strength of movement. Now, strength is our foundation, our structure. Now, if you've seen the way that I've worked so far, I've worked with clean sections, fine sections, and I've cross-checked it, and the house here and the foundation in this area is extremely strong. Now, how can I complement and sit something over that in a different way, which is where our movement comes into play. So now I've got this area which is disconnected. I'm going to work a lot looser and transient with this area. So in other words, this area is going to be loosened up a lot more. It's not going to have the line so strong. I'm going to work with a much more of a softer, fluid line. So I'm going to work a bit more freehand with this shape on the crown. This is purely so when this shape here feeds into the underneath, it's the softness going with the hardness. It's the masculine and the feminine going in together, and it's that blend of that area, which I think is going to be quite cool. So what I think I'm going to do, because I've still got a lot to do with the haircut, but I'm going to dry it off, okay? And I'm going to work the rest of the haircut dry. Now, the reason I want to do that is because I want to work with the texture on this crown. I don't want to work with too much of a structure on it. And I'm going to allow the softness to go into the hardness, and we're going to create something quite beautiful, I think. So I'm going to reapply a little bit more product. Now this is again list control. I'm not going against anything else. I'm not going to use anything else at the moment. Might use a bit of hairspray a bit later, or a bit of clay or something, just to form the curl a little bit more. But Tracky does have amazing, amazing hair. You can see the curl really reacts quite well. What do you think, Al?
I think it looks wicked, Andy. I really like that disconnection on top. I think great decision to take that fringe in shorter as well.
I think it's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're gonna do some of the areas I'm going to be looking at afterwards. Definitely this crown. So we're going to free that up a bit. We're definitely going to be working by shortening some of this. And I'm going to put a little bit more of a graphic outline through the back area. I'm just going to use the diffuser just to keep the separation in the curl. Again, not using too much of a strong product through this crown area, so it won't dry, it won't have that kind of crispy curl appearance, which I don't want.
So, Ferrell's asked, are you leaving the top heavy?
I'm going to leave the top very heavy. It's a bit of a tribute to a haircut that I had when I was learning, actually when I was a barber. It's an old haircut called the high crown. The high crown was a haircut using a halo section, and then the haircut was worked with a uniform haircut underneath, and then graduated in. And I've kind of done a bit of a modern take on it, just kind of using corners just to create a little bit more, push it a little bit more dimensional. Thank you. Just a little bit. Thank you. This colour's amazing now. I think we just went to Bologna. Rush just went to Bologna at the weekend. And I think one of the key colours that were really kind of they were talking about was pink, and it's really set off a really nice tone of that pink. Actually, it's beautiful. Setting against the copper, Really nice. Really nice.
So we've got a question here. What style cut would you suggest for someone with thin, fine hair?
Well, when we educate, it really is. You have to see the client first of all, because when we educate, we say one length leaves the most amount of weight in the hair. But sometimes if you leave one length hair on really fine hair, it can look quite spindly. So sometimes it actually works when you actually put layering into it. It works. So you have to see the hair, see the face shape, and work it from there. I think that's the key. You can never answer a question like that. It's a bit too vague. I'm sorry, because you do need a consultation. You really need to look at your face shape, your hair type, and exactly what will give you the benefits, to give you the most volume, and to give you the most movement. That's going to really work for you. It's a difficult question to answer, really, from without seeing someone. Like, try and give it. I just want to create this volume in the hair. Like I said, I want to create this high crown.
So a question I just saw a moment ago is how often do you do live videos?
So we do this every week. Last week we didn't, unfortunately. I was actually sick. I actually had the flu. It's the first week we've actually ever missed a Facebook Live in I think since October. So we'll be doing it every Wednesday, 10:30 to 11 o'clock start, and going on for about an hour, hour and a half. It's an educational process. Remember that. We always get criticised a little bit. People always say it takes too long, and so. Remember, this is an educational thing. We're stopping, we're talking, we're really fluffing about, if you like, because it is about education. Education for hairdressers, and we're effectively promoting ourselves at the Academy and showing you our skills and talking about our skill sets. So really, yeah. So it's going to be every Wednesday. $11 till 12:30, if you like.
And for any of you that are interested, we do actually post the videos onto our Academy page after each Facebook Live. So you can actually go back and watch any of the previous ones as well.
100%. There's some great ones with Tina Fari, our editorial director. She's done some great hair ups. Chris Williams has done some fantastic colour work, shown a few balayage techniques. And at the end of the day, you can, like Alex said, you can go back, have a look at some of the work, and explore it if you like, really. A lot of free education on there at the moment. I'm liking that now, that disconnection's coming in. You can see what's happening to the curls and what's happening, the separation, it's really cool. Before I finish off, we'll do a bit of refining. So I'm going to be working quite free through the crown area here, and I'm going to be working quite pure through some of the outsides. So first of all, I'm just going to do a bit of carving just through this front area. Just working with a slight amount of detail. Going to work quite strong into this fringe. Pointing in, quite parallel. A little bit of freehand, just to strengthen the shape. She looks incredible, that fringe. Really suits her.
Yeah, Tracky's been a model with Rush for many years now, but I don't think you've ever seen her with a fringe like this. So
No,
it's really good. Really
no.
nice fresh take on it.
It's really different. The thing is about Tracky, you cut her hair this week, and next week she'll have a one left bob. It grows like a weed. So I'm literally just going to start to take some of these areas down, just freehanding, elevating the hair up. Just using the blade to run through and just remove some of that length. I want to visually connect that balance for the opposite side now. I'm just going to work very visually again. Through the back. I'm just going to literally just feel this shape first. Beautiful.
It's a bit tricky, isn't it, when you haven't got a mirror there too?
No, it's fine. You just have to feel it a little bit, don't you? Get your hands in there a bit. Now, I don't want to go too short here. I think I'm going to keep it quite low. But I'm just going to dust it up. Working it into a point still. Literally just use the blunt of the scissor, just carve through a little bit. Keeping it quite loose, nothing too tight.
So as Andy's sort of starting to finish up now with these final little bits, if anybody's got any questions, please don't hesitate to stick them in the comments section and I will read them out for him.
Just take the neck trimmers, just remove a little bit of the neck hair. Just through the underneath. Again, like I say, not going too high or too bare on this nape area. Keeping it quite low, very natural. It's the natural shape of the hairline I've worked with, which is working centralised area into a point.
So we've got a question asking what colour is that? I don't know whether you know what Jeremy used today. Or...
I do. Adam will know.
Adam,
what colour was this, buddy?
So we're just going to find out
what the
colour was.
Find out for you, yeah. 100%. What was it? Yeah.
You're asking about the colour?
Yes,
yeah, the pink particularly was used with the L'Oreal colourful hair.
Yeah.
So that we just get a stain on that pre-lightened hair.
Beautiful.
Jeremy made the colour choice. He's unavailable right now.
Yeah.
But the idea was, you know, to have the warmth of that gentle copper slightly offset by a cool pink.
It's a really nice pink, actually.
Yeah, well, it's like you were saying earlier about pink still being so on trend. You know, we think we've seen it all with pink, but it's such a wide spectrum, really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it involves blue, it involves red, you know, so that gives us a lot of scope.
Yeah.
What we can do with pinks, you know, and getting them, I think, against coppers and warm tones, I think they look particularly new at the moment.
Is that how you think it's going then? Is that, you know, is it setting pinks on different tones?
I just think generally with colour, you know, we've played with so much different colour and what you might say call an unnatural group of greens and blues and pinks, etc., that they've become just part of our palette to play with now. And I think the really exciting colour work that's being done for me at the moment is when it becomes not so much more subtle, but just a little bit more integral to the rest of the colour that's there. So instead of making a bold statement with a panel of vibrant pink, we're keeping it more organic, more earthy. And I think then it just becomes more wearable to a wider market.
Definitely. Interesting.
You know, you walk down the street now and an average girl that works in an average job would have some kind of pink in her hair, or even a soft green, and it's become a natural in a way, pink particularly, you know. I mean, L'Oreal predicted this quite a few years ago, that it was going to be in that palette of what we might call naturals or neutrals.
Neutrals, yeah.
So I'm trying to keep up with all the questions coming through. I did see one, sorry if I don't read them out, they are coming thick and fast. But I did see one asking whether you need to bleach the panel up for the pink first. Is that something you would suggest? Yeah,
so that panel was pre-lightened. The natural base is around a 7. And it was pre-lightened on that natural base, so we only used 3% on it. We wanted to maintain some of the underlying warmth in there because we didn't want too bold a tone, and I think when you're working with pinks, reds, coppers that are that bright, to maintain a little bit of that underlying warmth is really useful because it helps to naturalise the result. Obviously it's not good for the cooler colours, but when you're working with a pink you can adjust what you put in by just keeping it a little bit cooler to counteract that underlying tone, but it still gives you a much more earthy result than if you pre-lightened it really light and just went for your target shade.
Thank you, Anne. And there's a little,
That, ladies and gentlemen, was Mr. Adam Bryant. He's the Academy Manager here.
Director.
I'm
so much more than a manager.
So, I love that. So, like I say, any questions, contact us directly. You want to come down and meet us and have a chat? That'd be the best thing, I think. Any inquiries on courses or anything. Beautiful shape now. Like I say, I'm going to recap now. This is my homage to a very old haircut that I learnt when I was in the 80s. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
You were an adult in the 80s?
Well, I wasn't an adult. I definitely wasn't an adult in the 80s. I know that much. And I've just done just a different take on it. It's just had a little play. I think we've had a bit of fun today. I think it's really cool. You can see where the lower part of the section has created the overhangs. You can see the higher part of the section where it's created more of that exposure of the underneath, excuse me. So lots of texture today, and a real play with the idea of movement, texture, volume. I'm going to give you a recap quickly. Started with a diamond section through the crown. Through the crown area. Started at the front. Layered from left to right, then we went inside our fingers, dropping out the hairline, layering from right to left, from left to right, and crossed over the graduation. Then the top, I just disconnected and I free-handed the crown area, just to allow this really loose, soft movement coming over the top of the underneath. Just falls over to create that strength with movement. I've just left this little bit of disconnection through the side areas, which I just think just creates that little bit of cuteness through the underneath. I hope you've enjoyed today. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully see you next week, yeah? Take care.